In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, we are witnessing an unprecedented situation, one that could potentially reshape the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East and have far-reaching implications worldwide. For the first time in history, Israel's formidable military force, which has long been perceived as nearly invincible, has encountered a scenario where they have utterly failed to secure the release of prisoners, many of whom are both American and Israeli citizens. This failure is not just a military setback. It represents a profound crisis for the Israeli government and its leadership, as well as for its closest ally, the United States. The current circumstances have created an immense amount of pressure on President Joe Biden, who finds himself in an incredibly difficult position. The American public, especially the families of those held captive, are demanding decisive action. In response, Biden has taken the unprecedented step of sending FBI troops to Israel. The mission of these FBI units is clear but daunting: to confront Yahya Sinwar, a senior leader of Hamas, and his operatives. The objective is to navigate the complex network of tunnels beneath Gaza, a labyrinth that has long been a strategic advantage for Hamas, and to rescue the prisoners. This situation is highly unusual and fraught with risks. The idea of American commandos operating in Israeli territory, particularly against a group as formidable as Hamas, is something that has never been seriously considered before. The potential for a significant diplomatic crisis is enormous. The mere possibility of American troops on the ground in Israel, operating independently or even alongside Israeli forces, raises a host of questions. How will Israel, particularly under the leadership of a deeply embattled Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, respond to this? Netanyahu, known for his fiery rhetoric and hardline stance, is reportedly furious. The presence of foreign troops on Israeli soil, even those of an ally, could be seen as an infringement on Israel's sovereignty and a blow to Netanyahu's already fragile political standing. We are witnessing what could be described as a turning point in history. After the long and difficult campaign against the Afghan Taliban, this would be the first time American forces are being considered for direct intervention in such a volatile and politically sensitive region. The implications of this decision are vast. Will Israel grant permission for such an operation? Will Netanyahu, who is already under intense domestic pressure, acquiesce to the presence of American forces? Or will he push back, risking a rift with Israel's most important ally? The situation on the ground is deteriorating rapidly. The Israeli army is currently engaged in fierce fighting, not just against Hamas in Gaza, but also on multiple fronts. In addition to the southern front, where the conflict with Hamas is most intense, there has been a significant escalation on the northern border with Lebanon. This marks a departure from the status quo that has persisted since 1948, when Israel first established military control over the region. Until now, these military bases had been considered impregnable, symbols of Israel's unassailable military power. Yet last night, for the first time since Israel's founding, these bases came under heavy and sustained attack. The Lebanese forces, using a combination of advanced drones and missile strikes, have managed to inflict unprecedented damage on Israel's military infrastructure. The sheer scale and precision of these attacks have left Israeli defense officials stunned. Key military installations, which had long been considered invulnerable, have been reduced to rubble. The Air Force, the pride of Israel's military, is now struggling to respond effectively. The entire chain of command is in disarray, and the confusion among law enforcement and military officials is palpable. This assault has not only shattered the myth of Israel's military invulnerability, but has also exposed serious vulnerabilities in its defense network. The Lebanese drones, which had previously been dismissed as minor irritants, have now proven capable of penetrating deep into Israeli territory, causing significant damage to vital military assets. The cumulative effect of these small cuts has been devastating, so much so that the destruction of Israel's military bases is no longer front-page news. Instead, the focus has shifted to the broader implications of this loss. With their military infrastructure in ruins, how will Israel defend itself in the event of a full-scale war? This unprecedented situation has led to a sense of panic among Israel's top military brass. The chief of staff has reportedly told Netanyahu that the situation is spiraling out of control, that the game is out of our hands. The entire network of defense installations that Israel has relied on for decades has been systematically dismantled. The words of Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, echo ominously in the background. Nasrallah, who has long been a thorn in Israel's side, had warned that Israel's overconfidence would be its undoing. He had predicted that in just 40 minutes, the military sites and factories that Israel had painstakingly built over the last 40 years could be obliterated, resulting in economic losses of up to $40 billion. Now, as we look at the situation, it is clear that Nasrallah's words were not mere bluster. The reality on the ground is grim. The people of Israel, who had once felt secure behind their country's formidable military shield, are now taking to the streets, driven by fear and anger. The entire nation is on edge, with the realization that their once invincible military has been dealt a serious blow. The focus of the Israeli government, which should be on the pressing issues at hand, is instead divided between managing public unrest and dealing with the fallout from the recent attacks. Amidst all this, the issue of the prisoners, particularly the American prisoners, looms large. The death of several Americans in captivity has sparked outrage in the United States, leading to mounting pressure on President Biden to take decisive action. The discussions within the U.S. government have reached a critical point, with Biden reportedly considering the deployment of FBI agents to Israel. This move, however, is fraught with challenges. The FBI is an agency primarily focused on domestic law enforcement within the United States. Its involvement in foreign operations, particularly in a conflict zone as complex as Israel and Gaza, is virtually unprecedented. Yet the stakes are high. If another incident occurs, resulting in the death of more American hostages, the public outcry could become uncontrollable. Biden is acutely aware of this, and the pressure on him is immense. There is a real fear that if the situation continues to deteriorate, the entire region could erupt into a full-scale war. The situation is further complicated by the involvement of Iran, a key player in the region, which has been closely monitoring the unfolding drama. The dilemma for Biden is stark. If he orders a strike on Lebanon in response to the recent attacks, he risks igniting a broader conflict that could draw in multiple nations. The potential for a catastrophic escalation is very real. On the other hand, if he fails to act, he risks being perceived as weak, both by his domestic audience and by the international community. The situation is akin to walking a tightrope, where one wrong move could have disastrous consequences. Meanwhile, Netanyahu is facing his own set of challenges. The pressure on him is mounting, not just from within his own country, but also from his key ally, the United States. The arrival of American commandos in Israel would be a game-changer, but it could also exacerbate the already tense situation. Netanyahu is in the final phase of his political career, and the decisions he makes now will define his legacy. He knows that he cannot afford to drag this situation out any longer. A resolution needs to be found, and it needs to be found quickly. As the world watches, the focus is not on Iran or Lebanon, but on the United States and Israel. The decisions made by Biden and Netanyahu in the coming days will determine the course of events in the region. And that wraps up today's edition of Reality News. If you enjoyed the content, give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and be sure to ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. See you all tomorrow.